You knew I was finna speak on this. Let's start with Steve Kerr. I'm going right in, right? We ain't. Let's start with Steve Kerr. At what point do you change the preparation headed into a game so that you don't come out and spot teams double-digit leads, right? Because, ultimately the players play the game, right? But athletes, teams, organizations are very routine-based, and there's routines. There's the warm-ups, the shoot-arounds, the little huddle in the hallway, right? All that stuff. At what point do you alter something as the head coach to try to change the start of these games? That is, if you want them to change, because newsflash, it's March. We're 20 games away from the playoffs, right? And I do think there is a Popovillian effect going on with Kerr in the sense that Steve Kerr, obviously there was no Sean Livingston, no Klay Thompson, no Kevon Looney. So the depth is being exposed right now because we're not getting what we got in the beginning of the season from both Jerebko and Alfonso McKinney, right? But there is an element of Kerr kind of playing preseason football here, I think, against Brad Stevens. It's been well documented from the Warriors players and the Warriors organization that they feel like Boston is next, right? They're the threat out of the East. They're up and coming. They've said that on several occasions. And they should respect Boston despite their struggles this season. Brad Stevens is a strategist. He's a real X's and O's coach, right? A coach's coach, not necessarily a motivator. And so I think that Steve Kerr, when I say preseason football, what I mean is, let's take the Niners and Cardinals. They're playing a preseason game, right? Kyle Shanahan, he's not going to show any of his scheme. He's not going to show any of the wrinkles in personnel change that he may use in a regular season game, because that's just how the NFL works, right? You don't want to show what you got. And I think there was a bit of gamesmanship where you look at those rotations and there wasn't a whole lot of changes made throughout this game. They just kind of took it on the ass cheeks. Is that a saying? Pause. You know what I'm saying. It was just a brunt beating, and Kerr seemed kind of fine with it. Ultimately, the players play. These are grown-ass men, supposed future Hall of Famers. Now, I ain't going to take it that far. We've got a bunch of future Hall of Famers. But ultimately, they got to get up and play. And I'll say I thought Steph was willing to play hero at Oracle, but his teammates and our defense never allowed him the opportunity to bring us back in this game. It looked like he had a little juice going against Kyrie, and his shot looked like it was arcing high and dropping, right? But it was so uncompetitive from the start, he never got that opportunity. Now, let's address DeMarcus Cousins in this, right? And it appears that he's not going to be able to play in a lot of these matchups. Now, I had just brought up, you go back, check out the Bogut video. We know Bogut's on his way, probably be here Friday for Denver. I don't know the logistics of that. But the reality of it is that there's going to be specific matchups. Houston, Boston, Toronto, I don't know if they play. I'm obviously projecting into the NBA Finals. Not so fast, man. Things, there's ups and downs, peaks and valleys to the season. And right now, I know Dub Nation, myself included, right? We feel like, man, this is an off feeling to this season. But if you go back through this 5-year run, there's always been these lows where it feels where your confidence in the team dips and it feels like this ain't it, right? So this happens every year. We just don't always remember it because of the way the season ultimately ends. So I'm not saying it's over, it's done, we got to worry. It's, we see these things. But ultimately, DeMarcus is just being destroyed. And what you're seeing schematically is, remember the honeymoon phase. Remember when the defense, everybody's effort ramped up because they understood DeMarcus where he's lacking and where they were going to attack. And so everybody's effort was high. Everybody was rotating out. Everybody was taking the lead defensively and communicating. And now the honeymoon phase is over and guys are over helping, Draymond in particular, and guys are sagging off and over helping in these pick and roll actions with DeMarcus. and then completely getting destroyed and breaking up the integrity of the defense, right? Because teams are reading this. And it's like, look, if DeMarcus is going to be out on an island, switched out on Kyrie or whoever the guard it may be, you're going to have to live with it. You're going to have to hope he contests, stays in front. If he gets in foul trouble, hey, maybe that's for the best. I'm not going to front. Last night, I was hoping he fouled out in the first 10 minutes of the game because I thought that would probably give us a chance, because it's just a gaping hole. And I think it's discouraged the other players and probably turned their effort down. They're like, what's the point, man? We just getting picked apart, right? Again, it's not meaningful games to them yet. That being said, everybody's, asking me like, what are we going to do with Boogie? How is this going to play out? Here's how I think it's going to play out. Again, styles make fights. The matchup, if we're playing the Rockets, right, it's probably Draymond or Looney starting at the 5 against Capella. I don't know, right? It depends on the matchup. But I think come playoff time, if Bogut comes as advertised, meaning he's healthy and in shape, I think what you're going to see is for the majority of these Western Conference matchups, I think you're going to see Andrew Bogut reinserted back in the starting lineup. And then you're going to see DeMarcus Cousins come off the bench with the second unit, where there's not as many guards that can exploit him on the pick and roll. There's not as many guys that in second units that can come off screens and pull and really expose him and take advantage of that matchup, because starting units, every team has a guard that can do that, or a wing that you really don't want him switching out on. With the second unit, I think that he'll be less exposed. And so that's what I anticipate happening when the playoffs start. And you say, oh, Boogie's not going to be mad about that, the team chemistry, and what about this? He's got to just shut up and take it. The proof is in the pudding. He's out there butt naked on the three-point line, just exposing the whole defense. So it's bigger than him, and I think he's smart enough. I know how temperamental he is, but I think he's smart enough to understand it's bigger than him, and he's going to have to just be a good soldier and come off the bench, whether he likes it or not. Now, the other thing that's going on is, man, we miss Klay. It's killer season, right? And I'm fully guilty of not appreciating Klay Thompson. I think we all are, but you're seeing the spacing and then the versatility as a wing defender, right? But what else is also being exposed here is Sean. What did Sean like sleep on his neck wrong last night or something? Come on, man. But anyway, there was no Livingston, no Klay. And so you're seeing Alfonso McKinney in the starting lineup. You're seeing Damian Lee, right? And the thing is with McKinney, man, I've watched the tape. I got to go watch the tape. I've watched the tape on Alfonso McKinney here, and I'm here to tell y'all he's not it. It's when you turn on a game casually and you're watching things live, it's not as easy to see, even for me. I have to go watch it again. And what sticks out with him is you're like, damn, he gets hella offensive rebounds, or he'll have a nice dunk. And early on in the season, he was hitting those threes, right? And now he's come back down to earth. But I'm here to tell you defensively, he's not going to be playable in the playoffs and in meaningful games, especially if you already have the gaping hole that is DeMarcus Cousins out on the floor. He just doesn't get it. Like, as quick as he is off his feet, he's that slow processing, and he just doesn't make good decisions. He reacts. He's a reactionary defender. He reacts to every feint, and so he just gets beat. And so he's just not going to be. And then you consider the fact that the three ball has betrayed him. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be able to be in the rotation. And so that's problematic, right? And then you look at Jerebko, who I'm still holding out. I told my patrons today in the breakdown, I'm holding out some hope that he can find his confidence and at least start stroking that three. It's a slower release, but it's high, so he can get it off. And he's not as reliant on quickness and athleticism, right? We knew that going into the season. So I don't know what he's going to give us, but all of a sudden the depth's looking super shaky, right? And I'm going somewhere with this. Hold on, because I don't know how many of you noticed, but our first round pick played a little bit last night. Jacob Evans III, remember? 6'5" out of Cincinnati, was supposed to be a versatile guard. I remember the hype. Y'all remember Draymond was in the draft war room, and he had a comment kind of like saying, we want guys that, see, you know me, I butcher the quotes, but basically we want guys that can play in the playoffs. We ain't worried about regular season players. We want guys that when the lights come on, they can perform, we can trust them. And that's what I took from that reading between the lines was kind of like that Jacob Evans, I know he's a rookie, but did he play 3 years at Cincinnati? He's an older rookie, and he's a guy that's unafraid. And I know Bob Myers and company, they expected him to contribute this year, especially losing Patrick McCaw, who, by the way, is playing meaningful minutes for Toronto. Shout out Patty Mayonnaise. But anyway, Jacob Evans played a little bit in the second quarter, and then he played in the extended garbage time last night. And just my eye test, he looks a lot more confident, a lot more fluid shooting off the dribble and just playing in an NBA game, albeit meaningless minutes. He defends already better than both Damian Lee and McKinney. I can tell you that right now. I've seen him on switches, his strength, and just his understanding. He's already a better defender than those two. Let's get that out of the way. The question being is, if he can spread the floor enough, if he can have the confidence to knock down some corner threes, I think that Steve Kerr owes it to the team, owes it to Bob Myers, and owes it to us to see if Jacob Evans can contribute these final 20 games. Now, I'm not saying playing him 20 minutes a night. I'm just saying maybe give him Damian Lee's minutes or some of McKinney's minutes here, given the matchup. I'm assuming Clay will be back Friday. I don't know how many minutes will be available, but I think they need to take a look at him because he's much more athletic and he's a better defender than those two. I won't say more athletic than McKinney, but he's better up here with it, right? He's more basketball athletic. And so I think they need to take a look at Evans before they set the final playoff roster because we're lacking in that area. You see when Clay's out, we just don't have wing defenders. But, no, the sky is not falling. But I thought I had to check in with y'all about this and what I see moving forward. As far as Boston goes, how ironic is it that they played their best game of the season and it's Kyrie who only took 11 shots? He's not ball dominant. What do you know? But, I think it was a galvanizing thing for them. Obviously, I'm even happy for Hayward. I have no love for Boston fans or the Celtics, but you got to be happy for Hayward. He gladly accepted our gift on that Tuesday night, right? Anyway, Denver Friday. I'll be back with a breakdown soon. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all. I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.